What's up, Scyushi Squad? We back again some more Trove, and today we're going to be continuing that 35k series, or in our case right today, 36,000 power rank. I'm not going to have all my classes at 36k or anything like that. Most of all, it's just my Shadow Hunter, and more specifically, my Tomb Raiser. Tomb Raiser is the character that we're going to be focusing on today. Now, if this is your first time tuning into one of these videos, what we're going to be doing in this series is basically taking a character at 35k power rank, which is going to suck for me to grind these other characters up there, let me tell you. And then we're going to end up taking 5 minutes in the Geode Surface and kind of show you guys, okay, how can this character handle the end game, and then 5 minutes in the Geo Delves, which usually just ends up translating into one floor that's at like U10 difficulty, so it's not really the best example. But I'm also going to be leaving you guys with my impressions of the characters, etc., etc. Before we get started with today's video, though, I do gotta let you guys know, if you're new to Trove, I would very appreciate if you would use the sign up link down in the description, because then what that's going to do is anything you end up buying in the store from that sign up link, it'll end up giving me a percentage of that sale, which is an awesome way you can help me support my cost of living by literally just playing the game, other than, you know, just watching my videos without ad block. Anyways, let's hop into the Geo Surface with Tomb Raiser here. I'm not going to be going into too much detail about my gem stats or anything like that, just because generally speaking, I'm sorry, please don't leave the video, I already ended up showing my entire build in my more recent Tomb Raiser tutorial. Now, just to give you a heads up, this is what my stats are. I do have full Crystal 4 gear, so that's going to be with a Crystal 4 staff. This is my ring with energy regen. This is my banner, which, okay, whatever, let me just make sure I'm on the right ally. Yep, we're gonna be doing fine for the damage. The thing is, we technically don't need to use the arcane emblem. What I usually recommend if you're just trying to speed farm on the surface is to use trailblazing, but we're not really gonna super duper need that. Maybe I'll swap my unyielding off of that, just because our survivability is already going to end up being through the roof in general. Let me also get my timer ready here. So we're going to do a stopwatch just so that we can do like 5 minutes. Now, the thing is about the Tomb Raiser, he's not going to end up being the best character in the game by any means in terms of just Geo Surface farming, just because generally speaking, in order to end up completing these dungeons as efficiently as possible, you want to be as quick as possible. So you're going to want to be on a character that can end up navigating from one dungeon to another at the fastest speed possible, right? And Tomb Raiser just doesn't really have the movement speed to end up being off of your mount, but you certainly have the damage, as you can see. My God, do you ever? Like, that's the thing about Tomb Raiser, is Tomb Raiser is probably my favorite class in terms of actual end game probability of, like, killing things, you know? Like, Tomb Raiser is a powerhouse. You can use it very successfully in the delves, as you'll see without question later in today's video. But as for Geo Surface, I mean, you can main Tomb Raiser 100%. Okay, if that is the question that you're asking, can you main the Tomb Raiser? Yes, most definitely you can. You're not going to be the fastest as far as dungeon travel time is concerned, but as far as your dungeon clear time is concerned, you're going to be just fine. Like, look at this. I don't even know why I have the arcane emblem on right now. I technically don't need it. And then, you know, even if I end up popping a flash, which gives us a little bit of movement speed, you can see it doesn't really equal out. So what I always end up using is a knight subclass ability, and I have my knight as at least 30,000 power rank. If I could get that to a permanent 35k, I would actually have a little bit more movement speed, because what the knight subclass ability is going to do is basically every 5,000 power rank interval, you're going to end up having 5 more movement speed on a mount, if I'm not mistaken. So right now I've got 125 movement speed, and the point is, if I got my knight to 35k, I would have 130 movement speed, which would be beautiful. Even when we're trying to take on kill 30 enemy dungeons like this, I mean, you can see clearly the world is just a laggy mess, but Tomb Raiser handles it no problem, and we still haven't even drained any of our flasks, because Tomb Raiser also has some insane survivability. I'm not even gonna touch that dungeon because it's disgusting. Tomb Raiser has some of the best natural survivability of most of the classes in the game. The only other one I'd say that is probably just as tanky, a little bit less. Tomb Raiser, I would say, is maybe one of the tankiest characters in the game. Revenant, I know, can end up being super duper tanky because of lifesteal, and then the Draco is generally going to be extremely tanky as well. And so with Draco, the reason why that character ends up being so tanky is just because your minions end up taking aggro, and that is true to form with the Tomb Raiser as well. Our minions are taking a lot of the aggression off of the enemies, or off of us onto our little babies, and because of it, it means that the enemies are hitting us a lot less. But on top of that, our #1 ability basically gives us super armor, and Tomb Raiser is the only character in the game that has that, where I think it negates like 90% damage or something. It's something actually like astronomically high. As far as the negated damage is concerned. So that's why Tomb Raiser just has that. And then I know that there might still be some of you that are sitting here like, ew, 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 what? The Tomb Raiser, how come you're doing so much damage? Tomb Raiser ended up actually getting a rework. I think that was last year? I could be wrong. I played this game for so freaking long, I don't even know anymore. But the point is that Tomb Raiser did in fact end up getting a rework. And when they did rework the character, oh my god. I mean, I've got videos that highlight it so you can know every single detail of what happened from the old Tomb Raiser to the newest version. But basically, they made this character a powerhouse that actually does sustain damage at the end game. Doesn't have as much, you know, upkeep, I guess, if you want. How would I put that? Like the thing about Tomb Raiser that keeps its damage off of the top end is because of the amount of time that you have to spend to build up your minions so that you can get the most optimal damage out of the class. And that's kind of the only real big comparison that you can have with Tomb Raiser versus some of the other more damage dealing characters in the game. But my argument to why I personally think that the Tomb Raiser is one of, if not the best character in the game in terms of survivability and damage and everything like that, is because you have the high outputs of damage. We'll go to Delves after we end up finishing this 5-star. You have the high outputs of damage, but you also have extreme survivability. A lot of the other characters in the game that have even slightly more damage to a lot more damage than Tomb Raiser, like let's take Gunslinger for example. Gunslinger's got insane amounts of damage, but barely any survivability. You're very, very reliant on either moving around a lot or having other people, in fact, you know, there to kind of help you with your survivability, which, I mean, my 2 cents towards it is just, I always like using the characters that I deem as very lazy. So with Tomb Raiser, you know, I can just sit there and it's like I can kind of just go on autopilot. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that big of a deal to end up missing a few things or not being as optimal. So we're going to put Unyielding on, and we are going to keep our Arcane emblem, which I don't think we technically need for this. Okay, so this is going to actually be a deeper portal, so this is perfect. So this is going to end up being depth 123. So depth 115, sorry, my ear's a little itchy. At depth 115, that's going to end up being when, sorry, I'm stopping my timer. Depth 115 is U10 difficulty, so it's basically the same as the surface, as what we just saw right there. I need my little mount, but whatever, I don't really care. Oh, we only need monolith. Whereas depth 123, you know, it starts getting a little more difficult. Depth 130 probably is when it would be a true testament to the character. But I mean, I can already tell you guys, even like, regardless of being on a deep floor or not, Tomb Raiser is fine. The biggest thing that you guys may, you know, those of you that have kept up with the 35K series, obviously we've only had 2 other classes, you know, with Vanguard and Shadowhunter, and both of those characters ended up handling the Geo Surface extremely well, but ended up lacking in the Delves. And what was the biggest factor for that was when we ended up actually fighting the bosses, because the bosses are the stronger enemies. I mean, not to say that the normal enemies in the Delves don't end up scaling absolutely crazy when you get to the deeper depths, of course, but the point is that the bosses are going to end up being some of the tankiest creatures in the game, just because they are. Like, it's just kind of how they scale. Also, it depends on the buffs that they end up generating with. So hopefully we'll get something a little bit stronger today, as we did with Vanguard and Shadowhunter, so I can kind of give you guys, you know, show you firsthand just how powerful this character is. And I'm sorry that I'm moving so super duper slow. I don't remember what the mount's name is that we can use in the delves, and I don't want to look it up and search for it, but that's okay. It's a small enough floor anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, because all we gotta do is this, and then the next room is going to end up being the boss room. Now, the thing about Tomb Raiser is Tomb Raiser's not gonna be one of those super speedy, run through as quickly as possible classes. Tomb Raiser is gonna be one of the characters that's dealing damage. You're gonna be going out there and killing absolutely everything. And then this is going to end up being, okay, so he's a bit stronger, so it's a prime example of this character. What I like to do is I like to pop out an ult, just so it can tank a little bit, and then basically I'm spamming my right click so that I can summon my minions, and I'm spamming my number 1. That's why you see my energy going down constantly, because it gives me basically the invulnerability. And as you saw right there, what happens with the Tomb Raiser now is your minions are going to slowly end up getting purple health. So that basically means that you've summoned 6 babies and then you're over summoning, and so they're having purple health, which means that they're actually doing added damage. But you can convert all of that into your ultimate, and as you can see, the ult is doing a lot of the damage there. And to keep in mind, because you might be sitting here thinking, well, with the Shadowhunter, you know, that character ended up dealing with the Delves boss about the exact same speed. We're at depth 123, which is considerably deeper than depth like 115, 116, or whatever you want. Not to say that, you know, we were doing like super duper god damage or something like that, but my point is, you saw, like, again, I could just go on autopilot. Let's see what it generated, actually. Have reduced light, okay, so it was weaker. Takes additional damage from players, okay. And then reduced flash capacity, oh. Okay, so he didn't have any regen or anything like that. Okay, well, whatever. Either way, I guess that'll do it. So hopefully that was a video that you guys enjoyed. Hopefully it ended up answering any of your questions, because, you know, the whole goal of this series is to show you guys fully functional end game classes, so you can determine for yourselves whether or not it's a character that you want to main for 1 or 2 purposes. Because that's the thing, is Trove is basically split into 2 gameplay factors, which is Geosurface, the fun part, and then Delves, the part that nobody likes. But Delves do have a necessity of a lot of the things that you gotta end up grinding and stuff like that. So that's why it's definitely important to have a character for both, if not have a character that can just do both themselves. And Tomb Raiser definitely can. So long as your knight subclass ability has a high enough movement speed, you can definitely use Tomb Raiser for U10 grinding and stuff. The big reason why I don't, though, is just because the movement speed is just not as good as some of the other characters. And generally, I don't find Tomb Raiser to be that fun for U10 grinding. In Delves, though, it's a blast. Draco is pretty much the exact same as Tomb Raiser, but I find Tomb Raiser to be a lot more fun just because I'm pressing more buttons. Simple as that. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want, support the channel, and have yourselves a fantastic day, gamers. Sayonara, and stay epic, everybody. Blah.